Tranquility's mask, the picture of peace. Cobblestone streets bathed in the warm glow of the afternoon sun. Laughter echoed from the local pub, the drunken fox a comforting sound. Children chased each other, their joyous shrieks a symphony of innocence. This was Ashton Falls, a town untouched by time, or so it seemed. At the heart of it all stood a beacon of hope and healing. His smile, gentle and reassuring, could calm the most anxious soul. His presence, a comforting certainty in a world that often felt chaotic. He was their confidant, their healer, their friend. No one ever locked their doors in Ashton Falls. Why would they? Evil was a story whispered in hushed tones, a fear that lived only in the shadows, far beyond the reach of their idyllic haven. The very idea that darkness could penetrate their world seemed preposterous. Ashton Falls, in its naive innocence, slept soundly beneath a sky that held no hint of the storm to come. The mask of tranquility was firmly in place, but beneath the surface a sinister truth was brewing, waiting for the right moment to erupt. A shadow whispers in the lanes, but shadows, even the faintest ones, have a way of stretching, of reaching into the light, and in the dimly lit corners of the drunken fox, whispers began to surface. They spoke of strange occurrences, of things that went bump in the night. A chill wind seemed to follow, a sudden drop in temperature whenever he entered a room. His eyes, once filled with warmth, sometimes flickered with an unsettling intensity, a coldness that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to look too closely. There were rumors of late-night visits to his surgery, hushed voices pleading for something stronger than the usual remedies. The townsfolk dismissed it as nothing more than the ramblings of bored gossips, desperate for a distraction from their ordinary lives. Yet, doubt, like a seed planted in fertile ground, began to take root. It grew slowly at first, a nagging unease that something wasn't quite right. But as the days turned into weeks, the unease blossomed into a chilling suspicion. The first tremor, a life unexpectedly cut short. The tranquility of Ashton Falls was shattered one crisp autumn morning. The news spread like wildfire, each whispered word tinged with disbelief and a growing sense of dread. Eleanor Vance, a beloved schoolteacher, was dead. Her lifeless body was found on the outskirts of town, a single red rose clutched in her pale hand. The local constable, a portly man named Higgins, declared it a tragic accident, a fall from her horse. But the townsfolk weren't so easily convinced. Eleanor was an experienced rider. She knew those trails like the back of her hand. And the rose, perfectly preserved, seemed staged, a macabre detail in an otherwise senseless tragedy. Fear, cold and sharp, began to seep into the heart of their once peaceful haven. The townsfolk, accustomed to the gentle rhythm of their lives, were confronted with a harsh reality. Death, in all its finality, had come to Ashton Falls, and it wore a mask of familiarity. The secret, a chilling ritual. Unbeknownst to the unsuspecting townsfolk, the home held a sinister secret. Hidden behind a bookshelf, in a room that reeked of formaldehyde and fear, was a hidden door. It led to a subterranean chamber, a gruesome sanctuary where the darkest desires were indulged. The room was cold, sterile, illuminated by a single flickering gas lamp. Surgical instruments gleamed ominously on a steel table, stained with the evidence of unspeakable acts. It was here, in the dead of night, that the respectable facade was shed. Each murder was prepared with meticulous care, a chilling ritual that brought a perverse sense of satisfaction. The perpetrators saw themselves as an artist, their victims as canvases, their deaths a grotesque masterpiece of their own creation. Each victim was chosen with a specific purpose, their deaths intricately linked to a dark fantasy that played out in the twisted labyrinth of a mind. Ashton Falls, in these eyes, was nothing more than a hunting ground, its inhabitants pawns in a twisted game of life and death. Red flags ignored it, the town blinded. The signs were there all along, hidden in plain sight. The late-night comings and goings, the hushed whispers, the fleeting moments when the doctor's mask slipped, revealing the darkness that lurked beneath. But the townsfolk, blinded by their trust, their unwavering faith in the man they believed to be their savior, chose to ignore them. They clung to the familiar narrative, the comforting illusion that evil was something that happened elsewhere, to other people. They dismissed the strange occurrences as mere eccentricities, the ramblings of a brilliant mind stretched thin by the weight of their burdens. Even Mrs. Abernathy, the town gossip who seemed to possess an uncanny knack for knowing everyone's business, dismissed the rumors surrounding the doctor as utter nonsense. He was their doctor, their confidant, the man who had brought countless children into the world and eased the suffering of their loved ones. The very idea that he could be capable of such heinous acts was unthinkable, a betrayal of the trust they had so readily placed in him. And so, they turned a blind eye, their silence fueling the darkness that was slowly consuming their town from within. A glimmer of doubt, a son's suspicion. Thomas Miller, a quiet, observant young man, couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. His father, a close friend of a prominent figure in town, had been acting strangely, his once jovial demeanor replaced by a haunting silence. He would disappear for hours on end, returning with a haunted look in his eyes. Then came the nightmares, vivid, terrifying dreams that left his father drenched in a cold sweat, his heart pounding in his chest. He would wake up screaming, his words incoherent, his eyes wide with a fear that chilled Thomas to the bone. When Thomas confronted his father, he was met with a wall of silence, a desperate plea to let it go. But Thomas couldn't shake the feeling that his father was hiding something connected to that prominent figure. He had seen the way his father looked at this figure, a mixture of fear and respect that sent shivers down his spine. Driven by a growing sense of dread, Thomas vowed to uncover the truth, even if it meant unraveling the very fabric of their once peaceful town. Little did he know that his pursuit of justice would lead him down a dark and dangerous path, one that would test the very limits of his sanity. The news of the arrest ripped through Ashton Falls like a hurricane, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The townsfolk, their faces etched with a mixture of horror and disbelief, gathered in the town square, their hushed whispers a testament to the collective grief that had enveloped their once peaceful haven. The weight of their betrayal, the realization that the man they had trusted, had welcomed into their homes, had been living a double life. A monstrous lie was almost too much to bear. The very foundation of their community, built on trust and shared values, had been shattered. Fear, insidious and all-consuming, seeped into every nook and cranny of their lives. Doors that were once left unlocked were now bolted shut. Children were no longer allowed to play outside unsupervised. The laughter that once echoed through the cobblestone streets was replaced by an eerie silence, a chilling reminder of the darkness that had invaded their lives. Once a sanctuary was now a prison, its inhabitants haunted by the spectre of betrayal. The trial of the doctor was a media frenzy, reporters from all over the country descending upon the small town, eager to catch a glimpse of the man who had perpetrated such heinous acts. The courtroom was packed, the air thick with anticipation and dread. The doctor, his face pale and gaunt, his eyes devoid of any remorse, sat impassively in the dock as if the proceedings were of little consequence to him. His demeanor was chilling, a stark contrast to the compassionate physician the townsfolk had once known. The prosecution presented a compelling case, detailing the gruesome evidence discovered in the doctor's secret chamber, the surgical instruments, the bloodstains, the macabre trophies he had kept from his victims. They painted a picture of a man consumed by darkness, a predator hiding in plain sight. The doctor's defense attorney attempted to portray him as a victim, a man driven to madness by a split personality, a battle between good and evil that raged within him. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury's verdict, swift and decisive, guilty on all counts. In the aftermath of the trial, as the dust settled and the media circus moved on, the residents of the town were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. The scars of the doctor's betrayal ran deep, a constant reminder of the fragility of trust and the darkness that could lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly ordinary individuals. The town, once a vibrant tapestry of life, now felt eerily quiet, the shadow of the doctor's crimes hanging over them like a shroud. The townsfolk, once so quick to trust, now eyed each other with suspicion, the seeds of doubt sown in the fertile ground of their collective trauma. The legacy of the doctor's reign of terror would forever be etched in the annals of the town, a chilling reminder that evil could wear many faces, that even in the most idyllic of settings, darkness could lurk just beneath the surface, waiting for the opportune moment to rear its ugly head. And as the years passed, the question would continue to haunt them. Could they ever truly know the hearts of those they loved, or would the fear of the unknown forever cast a long shadow over? But the question remains, who am I?